Welcome into our NFL Draft Player Spotlight. Locked On NFL Draft coverage is presented by Ultimate Football GM. If you think you can run an NFL franchise, test it out by visiting ultimate-gm.com to play the Ultimate NFL GM simulation game. Start your dynasty today. I'm Kaidani Stevens here with Steven Simcox because we're talking about TCU prospects and where they may end up and what they're going to bring to their NFL teams. We're going to talk about one of the big boys, Steve Avila, guard for you guys. 6'3", 332, I think is what he came in at. Obviously, you can't teach that, so that's great. What is his projection kind of? How is he looking to translate the skill set and the size he has to the NFL?
I think he's most NFL ready of all the TCU guys. I mean, he does have the big frame and some position flex too. I think he'll be a guard in the NFL, but he played center a couple seasons ago and excelled at that as well. And they moved him over to guard this season because of a transfer, Alan Ali, who came in from SMU, and he was an All-American this year. So has been really consistent through his career. 0 holding penalties in 2022, which is super impressive. And just uses that big size to latch on to guys and doesn't really let them pass him. A road grader in the running game can, when he gets moving forward, use that momentum to push guys back, and then was really solid, in pass sets, protecting Max Duggan. So I feel like he's a guy that's ready to go as soon as he gets picked, and is someone who I think could be a starter on day one. He's just been a really big godsend for TCU the last few years. They're going to miss him in the middle of that offensive line the next couple seasons.
Absolutely. I mean, versatility like that is huge because maybe outside looking in, those positions don't seem that different. They are very different. So to be able to play all of those and be successful at all of them has to be a high point for him when NFL teams are looking at him. Also, he's a captain on this team. He has a good attitude. Is this someone that's going to come in and whatever position he's put in, he's just going to go to work?
He's been a leader. And I mean, I think one of the best things you can say about him is obviously TCU had a really great season last year, made the national title game, and that put a ton of attention on a lot of players. But Steve's been a consistent, just really steady force for them, even when they were going through some seasons where they were 5-7, 6-6, and they didn't have as much national attention on them. He was able to step in and be a starter on that line, and was healthy, didn't miss any games last year. So I think that's a big plus. But yeah, has the intangibles you want. Good leader, has been a captain the last few seasons at TCU, and someone who really does his job well, and the guys respect that.
Going into the next level, obviously, there's always going to be some changes. What do you specifically think he needs to work on? Is it position dependent, or is there just something in general he needs to get better at once he goes to the NFL?
I mean, when he would struggle, it was usually with guys that were quicker. And so at the next level, I'm sure he's going to see more athletic defensive tackles and interior defensive linemen. I think for him, with his size, he's not always asked to move his feet, especially at that guard position on a consistent basis. And so if you have somebody who can match your strength and ability in that way, then you have to have a counter. So I think that'll be somewhat of an adjustment for Steve. But as far as everything else, I mean, we talked about the ability to kind of switch positions on the line. He seems to be able to, reach guys with his athleticism. And once he gets his hands on players, it's really tough for them to break free. So I think the biggest deal will just be when he goes up against someone who kind of matches his strength and physicality, can he find a way to counter that and stay in front of them? And that'll be a bigger test at the NFL level, obviously.
Do you see him as someone that can come in and immediately play, or do you think it would be more beneficial for him to kind of have some time work his way into a starting lineup?
No, I think he could play right away. I mean, at the very least, I feel like he could be someone that could sort of be like a swing guy on the interior offensive line wherever you need him. But I believe he's the most NFL ready of all the TCU players. He's been a starter for 3 seasons. He's played a lot of football. Obviously got some experience against really good defensive linemen in the college football playoff this past year. So he's sort of seen it all. I don't imagine that it's going to be a huge adjustment for him, the speed of the game or anything like that.
All right, very good. We'll have to see where he ends up. Locked on Horned Frogs will have full coverage of wherever Avila ends up playing in the NFL. Stephen, thanks for joining us.